Our next speaker will be John K. John, you can unmute yourself. John K. Our next speaker will be Sadie. Sadie, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Oh, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, perfect. Just in honor of Yom Kippur, I mean, it's a little late today. I didn't know we'd be going on so late. And as a person of the Jewish faith, I'd like to read some excerpt from the Talmud for everyone who may not be familiar with the Jewish faith. I mean, we're a 2% minority here in the United States. And, you know, we're here and we escape persecution so many times, so many pogroms. So just to educate some members of the public, I'd like to read some excerpts from the Talmud. Okay, let's start
Excuse me, Madam Speaker. Excuse me. Under the Brown Act, speakers must limit their comments to items within the subject matter of the City Council. Your comments are not and are disrupting the meeting. If you do not keep your comments limited to items within the subject matter of the council, your opportunity to speak will be ended.
Okay, my apologies. I was just wondering how it's not related to City Council when the ADL runs the City Council and the police force. That's automatically the Anti-Defamation League's agenda, and I'm just speaking for the Anti-Defamation League.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Our next speaker is Judy S. Judy, you can unmute yourself.
Is that, yeah, you can, okay. Okay, I want to speak to general comment. My comment here is about the racial equity being interpreted into your ordinances at a county level. And this is most certainly within your purview because you use racial equity language in your ordinances. And I'd like to speak to it. I also think it was against the Brown Act to not let that elderly Jewish woman make her comments. That reminds me of how victimized 6 bazillion Jews were killed in the Holocaust. It really is sad. Okay, now when I talk about racial equity, the problem is that this language in racial equity is always anti-white, and you have groups in your meetings talking about how white people own too much of one thing or another. And then you make county ordinances influenced by the ADL and other groups that tell you that you need to even the playing field, or you need to let other groups have more participation or greater access to opportunities. What you're doing is you're keeping opportunities away from hardworking white people. And just recently, Asians have voted against affirmative action. So, they took it to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled affirmative action illegal. So your equity language in your ordinances is also illegal. I think you guys know it. Even the bald fat guy back there, he knows it. I'm allowed to criticize your council members.
Easy. Hold on. I'm going to allow you to say. Hold on. I'm going to allow you to say what you want, but you're not going to call people bald and fat. So go ahead.
Okay, listen, the Brown Act and the civil rights allow me to really call you whatever I want. You are a public official, and I'm allowed to criticize you however I want. You don't have the right to cut me off. Who told you? One of your Jewish lawyers probably, but that's not the real law. The law is that criticism is a big part of the First Amendment. We're allowed to criticize our public officials, and I could call the guy fat if I want. That shows a lack of discipline, and it's not the type of person that should be leading our community. I'm most certainly allowed to talk about that. Do not interrupt me again, please. Now imagine you have a room full of Mexicans in there talking about how white people own too much of the vineyards and that they need more opportunity and paid more, and they wear their La Raza shirts and they wave their Mexican flags. Can you imagine a room filled with white property owners talking about how for some reason the 2% minority Jewish population is overrepresented immensely in things like media, politics, and banking? Could you imagine we sticking up for ourselves in your meetings? Would we be called racist as a group? I wonder what makes you think that way. Is it brainwashing that's been happening to your whole baby boomer generation since you were born? Okay, you guys and your perspective has screwed up this world over the last 40 years while the money press is on nonstop, making you all rich. It's time for you to step aside and shove your new interpretations of civil rights, somewhere else, because this is not America, what you guys are doing. And by the way, fuck yourselves. Have a nice day.
Yagoda.
Right act fall.
Yagoda, go ahead.
Hello. You can hear me? I'd just like to follow up on that, the issue that the last speaker was talking about with what is anti-whiteism? Identifying anti-white policies and actions. 1, dispossession. The social,
Excuse me, Mr.
political,
Speaker,
and
under the Brown Act,
Yes.
speakers must limit their comments to items within the subject matter of the City Council. Your comments are not and are disrupting the meeting. If you do not keep your comments limited to items within the subject matter of the council, your opportunity to speak will be ended.
I am speaking directly related to the purview of the council. No, I'm going to continue. The social, political, and economic disenfranchisement of ethnic Europeans in their homelands through policies such as mass immigration, diversity quotas, and multiculturalism that undermines ethnic European identity. 2, defamation, use of libel, slurs, and slander meant to discredit the legitimate concerns of ethnic Europeans or dehumanize them as a group, including conspiracy theories and concepts such as white privilege, white fragility, critical race theory, which normalizes anti-white tropes. 3, denial, preventing, delegitimizing, or attacking the rights of ethnic Europeans to form or maintain countries.
Excuse me, Mr. Speaker, this is not within the subject matter of the City Council, and your
Yes,
time
it
will
is.
be
No, it
ended.
is.
Go ahead and end it, Mr. Clerk. Thank you.
Next speaker is Mary. Mary is no longer on the call. Final speaker is June.
I've been waiting here for like an hour to speak. Can you hear me or not?
We can hear you.
Okay, geez. These guys and their anti-Semitic crap, I don't even know what's going on here, but I'm not anti-Semitic in general, but there is a problem with the Jews owning too much of the landscape of the
Under the
banks
Brown
and the
Act,
media.
speakers must limit their comments to items within the subject matter of the City Council. Your comments are not and are disrupting the meeting. If you do not keep your comments limited to the items within the subject matter of the council, your opportunity to speak will be ended.
Okay, well, your city council works a little bit too closely with the Anti-Defamation League, and looks like you don't make your
Thank
own
you,
laws.
sir.
Looks
Your
like
comments are not related to the subject matter of the jurisdiction. Your time will be ended. Thank you.
Our final speaker this evening is Glenn Overly.
Thank God. Mr. Overly, did you ever think the mayor would be so happy to hear you?
Don't screw this one up, Glenn.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Wow, I never thought there was a meeting I really didn't want to be at. Andy, thank you for stopping that. Tonight, I want to speak in opposition to limiting public speaker time on consent and formal items in the future. I also want to recognize council's efforts in maintaining the 3-minute allotted time for public speakers tonight. Thank you. Citizens' interaction with city leaders is paramount to an open, transparent government. Additionally, I would like to see us maintain a 3-minute public comment time limit at the first meeting of every month. Think about this. When a citizen was murdered at a local steakhouse, the citizens rallied and marched up California to provide their public comments, which lasted longer than 30 minutes. In District 1, the compressor station created a real-time health concern for nearby residents. Multiple citizens provided public comments that exceeded the 30 minutes. In the past, the citizens have provided public comments highlighting the misuse of public funds, extravagant meal purchases, and even identified the Brown Act violations. There has been multiple situations where citizens provided public comments that help shape the conduct of our city government. To limit public comment timeframes related to the number of speakers at the first meeting of the month. As a concerned citizen, I often participate in public comment forum, highlighting issues that may not be on the council's radar. I, like many citizens, choose my words carefully after researching what I commented upon. To take a prepared 3-minute talk and last minute, based upon the number of speakers, cut it down to 2 minutes or 1.5 minutes is unreasonable. At some point, any public comment will lose enough content that the citizens are just consuming time without delivering an understandable, cogent message. There are many options available to our city. We can schedule more meetings per month. We can limit formal items on the first meeting of the month. We can increase time limits for public input to 45 minutes or more. I ask council to properly agendize a meeting where the protocols related to the public comments can be publicly discussed. Allow citizens the opportunity to weigh in on this subject and also hear our elected officials' position on this issue before the next election cycle. And in the future, if we could limit those last comments, I would really appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Mayor, that concludes public comment.
Yeah, Mr. City Manager, any comments on the comments we got tonight?
I have some comments. So as the proud son of an immigrant mother and Jewish grandparents, I'm very proud of my service here. And I want to thank everybody for being here and supporting against what we heard tonight.
I'd like to adjourn the meeting in memory of Casey Johnson. Casey is Jim Rice's son-in-law, and he passed away suddenly. Meeting adjourned.